Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Hello, hello, welcome, welcome. This will be my last live stream for the year. Today is the solstice, so it's very, very powerful energy. Good time for setting intentions, good time for letting go, things that no longer serve you. Good time for healing. I think you're here, Lorna. Welcome if you are. For those of you who have not met me or you're new to this channel, please be welcome. My name is Sarah. I'm a medical intuitive, psychic intuitive, among other things. But today's session is for a live question and answer healing session. And I encourage you and invite you to bring your healing requests. The more specific your healing request in the chat, the more detailed response you'll get. And if it's just me talking to myself right now, I'll do a general collective session of healing and see what comes through. But if you're joining, one thing I will say is that this is not a replacement for Western medicine. This is intended to be used alongside your doctor's recommendations. I also say that if you receive a reading from me at any time, that I ask you not to believe everything that I say as true. Don't take my word as gospel, but rather tune in and see if it resonates with you. And if it resonates as true, then take it on. Otherwise, leave it. And that's true for any of the sessions I do. True for when somebody comes to see me in person or online for a distance session. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty sleepy this morning. I did not get a lot of sleep. I was up late. I had caffeine too late in the day, and then I had trouble getting to sleep. And it's early here, so I had to set my alarm to wake up. So I'm running on only a handful of hours of sleep. You get the bleary-eyed, sleepy version of me today. I see that we have a few people who have joined. Please go ahead. This is your opportunity to receive the focus and invite you to ask your healing requests. Where do you need help? Is it mental? Is it physical? Is it spiritual? Is it emotional? What's troubling you in your body? I'll tune in. I'll give a read. I'll tell you what I see. And in real time, we'll work the energy together to shift the pattern, the energy imprint. I always say that if you're in a public forum and you're speaking about your health in a public forum, that your participation is your consent to have that knowledge and that information be shared in a public forum, and that I'm not liable for any of your choices in regards to your health. So having said that, let's have a look. Welcome. Acceptance 5391. You want to give me a name and where you're calling from? But you're being stuck in sadness and loneliness. First of all, thanks for sharing. I'm feeling like, first of all, let me just there's a little widget up on my screen that's distracting my eye. So, okay, that's gone. You're from Berlin, and your name is Anne. Well, welcome. The first thing that comes through is to acknowledge you showing up and speaking up. Just even typing those things in a window on a chat feels like it involves courage on your behalf, feels like it is a step of you speaking out and calling for help. And even that action feels like it's taken a lot of courage. So thank you. And acknowledging that you take a step and you ask for help is a big deal. Even though it might feel like a small step, it feels like a big deal because it's flicking the first domino, it's taking the first step, it's summoning the desire in you to affect change, and it's recognizing in yourself that you would like some help, right? So with all that said, being stuck and loneliness, what I'm seeing is a rigid mindset. There's parameters around you that you've been functioning in. So questioning what you're telling yourself on a daily basis. What are the thought patterns that are running in your head that are continuously creating you being sad and lonely? So if you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, it's another day, I'm so sad, I'm so lonely, and then that self-perpetuates itself by that thought being on repeat, even if it's not at the forefront of your mind, if it's kicking around at the back of your mind, that is the mechanism that is generating that experience in your reality. So acknowledging that thought, this is where you're at, I feel sad, I feel lonely, right? When you wake up, consciously shifting that thought pattern to one of gratitude and calling in community, right? Or a soulmate or a friend or a connection of any kind with somebody that is meaningful. It could be a pet, it could be an animal, it could be a flower, it could be a tree. So the feeling of disconnection presents as these walls of a rigid mindset. And not saying that the rigid mindset is yours, it feels like it's inherited. So perhaps your parents also had a rigid mindset. Perhaps your parents taught you along the way that this is life and this is how it is and this is how it's always going to be and there's nothing you can do to change it. So that's an old program that's hardwired into your system, and therefore you're thinking these thoughts that self-perpetuate and then are demonstrated in your waking experience of reality. So just right here, right now, let's affirm together. Take a deep breath. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. And if you are struggling to find something to be grateful for, it could be as simple as your breath. I'm grateful for my breath. That's present, that's here, that's now. Without it, you wouldn't be here. It could be the bed that you sleep in, could be a cup of tea, could be having water to drink, something very simple, just to refine it down. I suspect that the big picture vision is like not quite where you're at. So you're a little bit out of sync with where you'd like to be in your life. Also, in the retraining of your thought patterns could be, I feel so connected. And another affirmation could be, I feel a deep sense of belonging. I've recently gone through a period in my life where I've been alone for the first time in a very long time. And at first, if you've been in community or a family unit and you're separated from that usual paradigm, that usual situation, it's jarring. And if this is long term and you find yourself being solo for a long time, there's that desire and that yearning for connection. What happened in that time for me being alone was an opportunity to connect in with myself and really love myself in a profoundly beautiful way that hadn't been available to me before, because I'd always been focusing on the other people around me. And when I found myself flying solo, yes, there was loneliness at first, but it came to transform into delighting in being by myself, delighting in flying solo. And that was a practice of self-care and self-love and self-nourishment and self-connection. So I invite you to connect to yourself, connect to your self-loving, self-care, nourish yourself, being at peace in your own company. I think for a lot of people, the restless agitation when you're alone or the loneliness can come from being disconnected from yourself. And I just speak from my own experience here. So when you're cultivating and nourishing your connection to yourself and you come to love yourself and you are in a state of gratitude for everything that you have in your life, starting with the breath, starting with your first drink of water in the morning, starting with the fact that you have clothes on your back, you can build from there. Because really, if you have clothes on your back and a warm bed and food and water to drink, you're way better off than vast numbers of other people on this planet. So just bringing it down to the simple things in life that you can be grateful for and build on that. And as you cultivate this sense of connection and belonging in your own self, you naturally begin to broadcast that as an energy field, and you naturally begin to attract like-minded souls into your space. So it's starting from the inside that broadcasts out and magnetizes and attracts other beautiful souls into your life. And through this period of time that I was flying solo, I have attracted beautiful people into my life, people that I otherwise wouldn't have had the time and the space or the bandwidth to connect to. And now I have some really beautiful, dear friends that I have been able to nurture those friendships and those connections. And they're profoundly rich and rewarding. And I'm of the mind that we all need community, or we all like community. Some people are lone wolves, obviously, but that we're by natural instinct, village, community, tribe, group, we're a group species, right? Humans fare better in community. So you can also, Anne, we're just going to shift. I'm going to give a little rattle to shift and expand the parameters of that rigid mindset. Yeah, take a deep breath for me. Just breathe normally. This is all the conditioning of the parents. This is all the cultural conditioning. This is the societal conditioning. It says you have to be a certain way, look a certain way, behave a certain way, have a certain amount of money. All of the conditioning from other people projected on you of how you are meant to present in the world. It's clearing and dissolving those walls right now, yeah? Whew. Okay, so that feels like your energy field instantly expands. Take a deep breath into this expansion for me. We're going to fill it with beautiful silvery gold sparkles. So this is something you can also do before you get out of bed, is just expand your energy field. Be aware of the thoughts that want to crowd in and keep you in this narrow bandwidth, yeah? Sadness and loneliness. And just play with the expansion of your energy field, fine-tuning and becoming aware of your field. For me, healing is about awareness. It always comes down to awareness. And when you recognize what it is keeping you limited, whether it is a thought pattern, whether it's an old program from childhood, whether it's your little child self that maybe didn't get the love that you craved, if you've been abandoned or neglected or rejected in any way, there's so much you can do to nourish yourself. And ultimately, at the end of the day, any validation that we seek from another can only really come from within, can come from the divine, can come from that connection to source, connection to the source of all creation. Yeah? So this is a fine-tuning and a healing of the old ways of thinking and allowing yourself to be connected into your own heart and reconnected to the source of all creation. I keep bumping the screen so it jigs. Just will say too, in that expansiveness, if you feel like an instant sense of expansiveness with those boundaries being resolved, just to be mindful and take care as you navigate and walk through the world. Because if you are very open, you be mindful that you're not around people that are of negative influence or have any kind of hostility or anger or agitation that they may direct at you. So when you're very open, it's good to be in a safe place. It's good to be around people or in a space or in nature where you feel safe and where you feel held. So as you practice expanding that energy field, being mindful of where you are. And you can rein it in, you can bring it back in. This is your energy field. You can work with it and play with it and expand it when you're out in nature, for example, and bring it close when you're needing to be protected or guarded from other people's influences. So yeah, take another deep breath in there. Coming from an unresolved relationship. Yeah, so unresolved relationship, I know that well. If there's no closure or reconciliation of any kind with a person that you were connected to, and you're left wondering what the heck just happened, or you were deeply involved in a way that was not reciprocated, or that there was no care or consideration of your feelings, you can be left with this feeling of incompletion or lack of closure or wanting to make things right. And if there's simply no way to make that happen with that person that is no longer in your life, you're left with the need and the discord in your being to find reconciliation in yourself. There is a meme flowing around, and regardless of how the relationship ended or who ended it, or if it was volatile or if it was mutual or however it ended, there's a meme going around and it says, why would you try to ask the snake that bit you why it bit you, right? So if somebody has been venomous or poisonous or harmful to you in any way, or hurt your feelings, or disregarded your feelings and not considered you with kindness, that why would you continue to knock on that door and try to find resolution with that person if they're clearly not capable of offering you that kindness? So I really enjoyed that meme, and it made a lot of sense. It's like, why are you chasing the thing that hurt you? Why are you looking to find that resolution with this being that doesn't know how to do anything other than hurt you? So in that regard, you're left with the feelings and incompletion of resolution. And again, you're finding reconciliation in yourself. You're finding closure in yourself. And there's a lot of little ways you can do that. If there's a letter you need to write, if there's words you need to speak, if there's things that never got said, you can write them in a piece of paper. And you can throw all of your emotions into it, whether it's anger or rage or sadness or despair or whatever it is, the feeling in the disconnect. Write it down and then burn that piece of paper. And what that does is it transmutes the energy. Whereas a conversation face-to-face, obviously that's more satisfying and has a different feeling of resolution. Without that possibility, there's things that you can do to alchemize the agitation or alchemize the lack of closure and find that reconciliation in yourself, so that you can then begin to generate that self-love and that gratitude and that self-care. So I know that there's many people walking around going, what the heck just happened, and not able to find that closure with another person. And there's plenty of ways to bring it back to you, because ultimately at the end of the day, I suspect, Anne, that you're like me, and that you're very empathic, and that, you know, you feel deeply. And when that is not reciprocated, that you take it personally, right? You think there's something wrong with you, rather than recognizing that this person has projected all of their stuff on you and that it's not yours to carry anymore. So there's a lot of healing in the recognition that you're finding reconciliation in yourself and closure in yourself. And it's very freeing. It's very liberating to do that. So I encourage you to give yourself a hug and love on yourself and acknowledge you for being an amazing, courageous person. Encourage you to speak up more and ask for help from other people in your community as well. If you do need help, please get help. Could be the littlest thing. Could be somebody changing a light bulb. Could be having a cup of tea with somebody. You know, help comes in many ways. So yeah, thank you for speaking up. Hi. Okay, so Yvonne, I feel others' energy a lot, and it's hard in my job where I'm stationary and I can feel the energy coming right at me. I can feel my jaw and neck tighten with some people. Is there a way to send some people's energy back their way? Yes, is the answer. There's many ways to send people's energy back. I had an ex once, and they were sending me so much negative energy that it felt like a wall of blades coming over my left shoulder. It was just a wall of spinning blades. And there was so much projection and blame and shame and anger and grief and rage coming at me. And it was all projection. And so for somebody that you work with, obviously you're swimming in the same pool, so it's difficult to separate, and you're immersed in that pool, so you're swimming in the same pool. So there's things that you can do to shield yourself. Psychic Protection is a track that I created. I'll put a link in below that you can listen to. I suggest to people that are sensitive and walking into a toxic environment that they listen to it 3 times while envisioning a beautiful purple, the violet flame around them. So, and breathing that purple violet flame through your entire energy field, calling on the assistance of Saint Germain. So we can do this right now. Also, we're just going to call in the violet flame of Saint Germain. And if you can see your body immersed in violet flames. Violet is the highest spectrum color of light that the human eye can see. And it's the highest vibration of light that we can perceive with our naked eye. So this high vibration color, it basically jettisons out, catapults anything else out that is of a lower vibration. It's funny, I'm talking in a really jilted, stilted way this morning, and I think it's because I'm just really tired. So just bear with me, folks. I'm noticing that I'm like, still here though, still gotcha. Functioning on about 3-4 hours sleep from last night, so not as sharp as usual. So back to the violet flame. Psychic protection. The violet flame is a practice that you can do before you walk into work so that you're already shielded before you walk in. Obviously, there's lots of crystals and things that you can have, plants around your desk. There's things that lift the energy around you and contain, your sphere, your bubble around you, so that your energy is remaining yours. And then also to be aware that as a sensitive, as an empath, when you're picking up from another person, especially if it's targeted, especially if they're focusing targeted negative energy at you, if they're consciously doing it, it's one thing. If it's just unconscious, that's another thing. That's just this kind of nebulous, weird energy hanging in the air. But if they're sitting there ruminating and angry at you and focusing negative energy at you, then that's like a psychic attack, basically, is what it is. I suspect maybe there's jealousy in there. Sometimes when people are sending you negative energy, it's actually that they wish they had what you had. So take that on, see if that resonates. And maybe it's your skill set, maybe it's your salary, maybe it's how you look, maybe it's your persona, maybe it's your light. Maybe they're jealous of your light, and they can sense that you have something that they don't, and they want it. So there's a bazillion reasons why people decide to target you. I have been targeted on numerous occasions, and frequently it is just pure jealousy. Someone like myself, when I'm in a balanced and centered state, rested, relaxed, feeling safe, feeling held, feeling nourished, I attract things. I magnetize things. Opportunities happen, doors open, and it's been repeated throughout my life, and it feels like it's an effortless thing. And people scratch their heads and wonder, how does that happen to her? Why does she get that door open? Like, what is it about her that I don't have? And then there can be jealousy, whether it's acknowledged or not. And then that jealousy gets distorted and twisted into negative energy coming and being directed your way. So think of negative energy coming at you like a twisted distortion. If you saw a vortex of energy, and it twists and distorts and goes skeweth, goes off center, and then that energy creates a distortion in your field. And if that's being directed at you, your empathic sensitivity will pick that up as agitation, It will pick it up as discord. It will pick it up as a negative thought or self-doubt. It throws your intuition off. So for you, your healing today, I would like to fine-tune and hone your intuition so that it's loud and clear, and you know the thoughts that are springing out of this intuition, bubbling up out of the well, are yours and yours alone, and that they don't belong to anybody else. Because one of the things that happens when people target you with negative energy is that it throws your intuition off center and you doubt your intuition. And then you're slightly out of kilter, you're slightly out of off center, and you're slightly off track. So things don't come your way, doors don't open, you find resistance, you meet obstacles, there's challenges that keep getting thrown in your path, and you're constantly putting out fires. Feels like you're in triage, right? Because you're like going from one emergency in your life to the next. So bringing your intuition into alignment and into center, just if you can focus on your gut, your belly button, the solar plexus, a little bit above your solar plexus, we're just going to work on your intuition here, fine-tuning it and bringing it into center. So take a deep breath. And now bring your focus to the back of your solar plexus. Take another deep breath. Honing the intuition like a blade, sharpening the clarity, aligning your gut instinct with your thoughts, all the way up the nervous system, the entire nervous system receiving this healing energy. Specifically, the brainstem. Just going to clear the energy back here. Now, receiving a healing energy like this may create a catharsis of thoughts. So just be aware in the next few days, if your thoughts are on overdrive and if you're thinking at 1,000,000 miles an hour and like you can't turn the lights off, you can't switch it off, just be mindful that it will come back down to a place of calm. It's like having your solar plexus activated and the brainstem channel opened up into your mind, up into your brain, the nervous system coming online. And that can heighten all the things that have been just murky or lurking in the background. So just be aware that if your thoughts are going 1,000,000 miles and you're like, what is happening to me? That should resolve and clear. Yeah. But don't freak out if that happens. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's some tools for you, the psychic protection, the being mindful of what you're thinking, maybe not belonging to you, and just fine-tuning your intuition and your gut instinct and having that aligned with your own thoughts so that you're I see you kind of like there's a cowering aspect, like it's a heavy weight, and you can sense it like a heavy weight coming at you, and it's got you kind of leant over, doubled over a little bit over the desk. So I'm guessing you know exactly who that's coming from, and that it does stem from jealousy of some kind. Your role at work, your light that you broadcast, the luck that follows that light, yeah, the opportunities that come for someone who is broadcasting so much light. Many naysayers that would like to bring us down. And they know who they are. Awesome. Okay, yay. Shut you down and can't attract because I'm so busy pushing the negative back. Yeah, and that's a full-time job. It can be. It's good that you're recognizing it, because so many people are just walking around going, what is going on with me? And don't source it. So the fact that you've recognized, acknowledged, and sourced that it's not even belonging to you, that's a first step, yeah? So many people just walking around in a veil and a shroud, not knowing why they're so depressed or not knowing why they're feeling so off-center. And you have recognized that, and that is definitely a first step. It's like if you have a splinter, you can feel the agitation and the infection of this foreign body under your skin, but until you identify and see the splinter, you can't take it out, right? You gotta see it first. So yeah, you've recognized the splinter. Shuts you down. You're so welcome. I would say there's the old adage that it shuts you down. Really, the taking responsibility of your feelings is another step. Because if you're saying they do it to me, or I am the victim of this circumstance, then you're stuck in that victim mindset, which is a very limiting mindset. There's no spiritual growth, there's no expansion possible when you're in a victim mindset. If you're blaming other people for your misfortune, or you're saying they made me feel like this, and obviously circumstances happen where people inflict harm upon another person, but if you can acknowledge that your response, your feelings, you're being shut down, that's your responsibility. That's your reaction. They don't do it to you. There's something in you that is being triggered by what they're projecting at you. So there's a deeper wound there to investigate, right? Because if you were walking in and you were feeling amazing and you didn't have some deep, abandonment wound or some deep needing to please everybody wound, or because that's how you fit in as a child, or you tried to appease everybody in the family because that was your role, or you had to make everything right. If you're operating from that place, then you're also operating from a place where people take advantage of that, right? So, and you're constantly in this cycle of they made me feel, or I feel shut down by you, versus being in a mindset where you've got this, it doesn't matter what they're doing, it's irrelevant to your world because you're so centered and grounded and confident in your own being. Who gives a rat's about what they're projecting at you? Because it's like water off a duck's back. It doesn't affect you at all. When you're in that state, when you're not seeking validation, when you're not constantly needing to people please or soothe or make things right or be a yes person or all of the things that come with needing to make everybody happy. When you're not in that place, who cares what they think? Who cares what they're projecting at you? You're not even affected by it anymore because you're complete in yourself. You're grounded and centered in yourself, and they can have their experience and they can project what they want to on you and enjoy that. You be in your little negative circle of weirdness. I'm going to be over here having a lovely time, and it doesn't affect me anymore. So acknowledging the source wound, for me, I was perpetual people pleaser, and by experiencing a massive rejection and neglect and rejection, it brought up all the wounds from my childhood, and it brought up all the wounds from being in the womb. It took me that far back. That was the source where I felt abandoned and rejected and neglected in the womb. And as soon as I found the source of that, I was able to resolve it, absolve it, dissolve it. And now it no longer operates in the background. Now it no longer controls how I be. So it's very liberating to find the source of the wounding in your life. And then they can project whatever the heck they want to, and you're not affected by it because you're like, whatever, you do you. I'll be over here being my blissful self, because that's how I roll. That's what I choose. Self-care, self-love, got this, right? Very different way of being. Very different way of being, versus seeking that validation, versus like having to appease, versus having to make things right so that you're not seen as this, character that, we try to squeeze ourselves into all these little boxes to please people. And the only person that suffers at the end of the day is us, right? Yeah. All right. Anybody else? Anybody else have a healing request? Now's your chance. So we've got a few people here. Lorna, if you're still here, feel free to pipe up. I don't see any messages from you. Sending you some love and healing. Wondering how your recovery is doing. Hoping you're out of hospital. Seeing you with your feet on the ground, barefoot on the grass. I don't know what part of the world you're in, if that's possible at the moment, given the weather, but just some form of grounding. I think that came up last time too, just getting you connected to the earth. Yeah. And just while we're waiting, if anyone else wants to pipe up, I'll do a little, a general blessing for the collective, given that it is the solstice, given that we're coming into the silly season, given that the state of the world is insane. Let's be real. The state of the world is insane. Given that we've got a large comet flying past. That's got everybody questioning. I am just tuning into this rock comet, Atlas 3I, that is passing the Earth here, and talking to a friend the other day about the millions of years that it's been flying through space. And I'm a person who talks to rocks. So I feel that the energy coming from this presence What I'm sensing actually is I'm seeing a tarot card as the Four of Pentacles, and that speaks to me of somebody who's sitting on their hoard of treasure and not wanting to share. So the message that's coming through today is to be mindful of what you're sitting on and hoarding and protecting and not being willing to share. And the state of the world right now, we have people sitting on millions and trillions and billions of dollars while others are suffering and struggling to eat. So the disparity of wealth is extreme. So part of the evolution of human consciousness is recognizing that when you feed one person, when you share what you have with another, that it actually, that's how it's meant to be. That's a deep yearning in all of us, is to be able to share, is to connect and share food, to share water, to share resources, to share a circle around the fire. It is a natural instinct for humans to want to gather in circle around food and be connected in that way. And this comes back to the earlier question of being isolated and sad too. It's like we're all sitting on our little mounds of treasure. We're all, not everybody, this is the collective in general. Many people are hanging on to what they have, material wealth. I'm talking about material wealth now, as if it's all there is, as if it's the most important thing. But really, as we evolve as a species, in my mind, resources are meant to be shared, right? It's a natural instinct to want to help another person who has less. It's a natural instinct to want to feed somebody who's hungry. So I would suggest today that in alignment with this message coming through, that if you were to do an act of service today, it could be sharing a smile with a stranger. It could be donating to a homeless person on the street. It could be giving a child, a foster child, a gift. It could be any number of things that you give an energy exchange, and that you will find that that act has a reciprocity to it. And even if that reciprocity is just a feeling, and that feeling of being generous is so warming to the heart. Yeah. This weekend, I invited a lot of people to my home, and there's a path in the forest that has been overgrown and covered in fern fronds from the last storm. And when I went down there after all of these people had been through, I saw a trodden path through the forest. And it just warmed my heart to know that many feet had walked this path, and it felt like how it's meant to be, that in community, in sharing the gifts of this place, other people got to experience the magic of my home. And that trodden path through the forest gave me such a warm feeling in my heart. So that was one way of sharing, right? Didn't involve money, didn't involve any effort on my behalf, didn't involve anything except to open the doors to these people to come and enjoy the space. So that's, and the reciprocity of opening my doors in that regard allowed me to have that feeling. So the sacred reciprocity generates a feeling inside of yourself. And I believe at heart that we're all very generous people. We're all generous beings. We want to share. We want to gift. We want to connect. And that's a way to do that. So if you're walking down the street and you want to share a smile with a stranger, it might change the entire day for that person. It might change their life. They might in that instant be seen for the first time ever. So you have a lot of power in your hands. Yeah? You have a lot of power in your hands of how you choose to be. All right. Blissing -R4I. Hi. You're new. I'm grieving the loss of my beloved mum, September 25. So that's very recent. Yes. Would love a healing prayer for her and my siblings who are in disarray. Thank you so much. Of course. Can you share her name with me? Just wait a minute. See if you got that message and you want to type that in. If you're willing to, if you have capacity and you want to, could you also share with me the circumstances of her passing? Was it expected? Was it sudden? Or did you see it coming? Because that will affect how this reads. If it was abrupt and out of nowhere, then there's a shock factor that comes with that. That shows up in your energy field in a different way. But if it was a long, slow, drawn-out process and you knew it was coming for a long time, it's just a different pattern in the energy field. Mary, you beautiful Mother Mary. Regardless of how she passed, I feel that she definitely embodied her namesake. I do feel the presence of the Divine Mother Mary here. And that she fulfilled her mission of sharing her love. I have shared this before about grief. I'll come back to that because I'll just read what you said. She was diagnosed 4 years ago with a disease. I never thought she couldn't beat it. Lifelong grief. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. So she was underwater, drowning in grief, yeah? I've seen that before. I've experienced it myself. When somebody doesn't have the tools to process grief, when somebody doesn't have the ability to process grief, which many of the elder generation do not, they don't have access or tools or resources or capacity that my generation or the younger generation have. For example, therapists weren't even a thing in my parents' generation. Well, my father was a therapist, but it wasn't common. It wasn't a common thing to go talk to somebody in my parents' generation. So my grandmother, for example, carried a grief, and she never uttered a word about it until she was in her 90s, just before she passed. And she held that, and she didn't speak of it, and she held that in her physical body and in her field till the very end. And even her speaking about it was a big deal for her. So for your beautiful Mother Mary, who didn't have the capacity or the resources or the ability or the wherewithal or the know-how of how to discharge and release and clear and let go of that grief, it sits like a lead weight in the lungs, yeah? Like a crushing lead weight. Just seeing her hunching forward, like very heavy on the chest, the heart contracted, the heart heavy. So I also would like to acknowledge that when you do the healing work for your ancestors, that this is just from my experience. If I have done any healing work for my ancestors, I can feel them cheering and clapping and waving and supporting in the bleachers. You know, they're on the sidelines being the cheerleaders in such gratitude and such respect and such reverence for you doing that work. Because she came in, that was the life that she experienced, and she left with all of that unprocessed. She took that to the grave. And so by you presenting it here, you shining a spotlight on it here and now, in this moment, she can arrive to receive that clearing, that dissipation, that resolution of her spirit. While it didn't happen in physical form, what I'm seeing is to unwind the energy at the back of her heart, if she was still here today, to unwind that. And this will translate into you and your siblings, because that energy pattern comes down the line, right? We carry our ancestral emotional load. So the energy wants to unravel at the back of your heart, and I'm seeing it unravel in an anti-clockwise spiral. Can you take a deep breath for me? Just as I'm doing that, I'm seeing her present go from slumping forward to standing upright and being beaming, like luminous, a luminous presence. And hands on. I don't know if you can feel her hands on your shoulders right now, but I'm feeling her hands on your shoulders. Just this luminous presence, and her hand on the back of your heart. And then this translates to your siblings as well. So each of them receiving the same healing. And maybe you can compare notes if they're of the mindset that they can discern or have capacity to hear that you had a session with somebody who's very woo-woo. Maybe they don't. But if they have capacity, there might be some note comparing later where you're like, oh, did you feel that? Because maybe something's going to happen in their day where they felt her presence, or they felt her hand on their heart, or they felt an unraveling or an unwinding. And this unraveling and this unwinding of the energy in the heart may come through as an absolute purge of grief. It may come through as sobs and wails. It may come through as very, very, very deep grief that wants to bubble up and surface. And I would encourage you to have some alone time. Just from my own personal experience, that deep, deep, deep grief often can't surface if you're in the company of others, because we've still got that social interface happening, versus if you're alone, then there's the freedom to express. So yeah, the tears come, yeah. And as you're purging and as you're crying, or it could be snot and tears, you know, we're talking deep, thick snot and tears. We're talking real, visceral, childhood, infancy kind of mucus that wants to come out. Just be mindful that what you set in motion here is the ball rolling for you to clear that ancestral line. So not just healing yourself, you're not just clearing your own grief, you're not just rippling that out to your siblings, you're also clearing the entire ancestral line. And as a result of that, when you allow yourself to feel those feelings, when you express that deep grief that's buried like a like a piercing wound right here on the sternum. That's where it feels. When you're allowing yourself to express that, it will pass like a storm, right? Some people fear grief, that they'll get lost in there and that they'll drown in it and they'll never be able to surface. But as you express it, it passes like a thunderstorm. Yeah, it will pass. And the nature of emotion, as far as I can tell, is it seeks expression. It seeks release. And you'll find, in fact, that after you have allowed yourself to express that you feel tremendously lighter, that you are no longer carrying the burden and the weight of all that she held. And obviously there's things in her life that happened to her that maybe she never uttered to a soul. Maybe you have an inclination or thoughts about what that might be. And the message is here that you are correct. So if that's helpful to know that she was holding things inside of herself that were maybe never expressed in that regard. And because you are expressing and releasing and dissolving and absolving and resolving all of that ancestral grief, this is the perk. It's not the goal. It's not the reason to express, but the natural response from the universe when you express this is to bring in the connection to your beloveds, to your ancestors in a much more profound and stabilized way. You'll feel her presence with you. Because that grief, it creates noise and static in the mental realm, right? When you're deeply grieving and you're holding it in your body, it creates an agitation of noise and static in the mind. And as you express that grief, as you allow it to flow, the mental clarity comes. Just like after a thunderstorm, the sun comes out and you get a rainbow, right? There's that clarity. And with that clarity comes the recognition that that connection to your mother in spirit is profound. Is profound. So not only are you healing your ancestors, your ancestral line, but you're fine-tuning and creating a stabilized, deeper, more profound connection to the spirit realm. Your mama's the bridge. The love you felt for your mother is the bridge. And the love that you felt, the wave of that emotion, is the bridge. And now you have a dearly beloved on the other side and access to all the intel that comes with that. So there's tremendous gifts in allowing yourself to feel the feels and to come to a place of clarity and to acknowledge her life as a gift and all that she held, and recognize that you don't have to carry that load. You can be free of that. And in doing that work for yourself, not only are you healing your own heart, your own lungs, your own body, you're assisting your siblings, and you're assisting the entire ancestral line. And then as a result of that, you have all of their support moving forward. And to me, that's palpable. To me, that's absolutely palpable. I feel my ancestors behind me, around me, present with me, my aunties, my uncles, my father, my grandparents. I feel their presence, I feel their guidance, and it is a palpable force. And it's like having access to a certain key, really, because walking through life and navigating life when you're just trying to operate through life from the mind, you're missing out on so much. You're missing out on so many aspects of self. Your intuition, the little child self, the spirit that wants to give you a bigger picture, vision for your life moving forward. Yeah. So blessings to Mother Mary. Thank you, dear Mama. Let the tears flow, and suspect your siblings will notice something too as a result of this conversation. And if they don't have the bandwidth for what you're up to here with, tuning into spirit and listening to somebody who's talking a lot of woo-woo, maybe just start with, how was your day? Notice anything different? Because I suspect there'll be a shift in them too. Yeah. All right, my loves. Is there anybody else while I'm here? And please feel free to make a donation, my loves. Any donations help the cause, put food on my table, clothes on my back. Cup of tea, cup of coffee. The link should be below. Speaking of sacred reciprocity, for me, the number of people that have assisted me in life with my own healing journey, too many to mention, but I would like to offer them all the abundance and prosperity that I can. I just, it's priceless. It's priceless to have support of somebody to assist you on your path. And I've had many, many people assist me on my path, and for that I'm eternally grateful. Yeah. All right. The word I'm hearing right now is joy. So this is a prayer for the collective to remember and know and experience joy. I think so many of our hearts get bogged down and shut down and burdened by everything that's going on. And my prayer for you today and for myself is to remember joy. Yeah. May you experience joy today on this magical solstice day. And Merry Christmas. Yeah, Merry Christmas. To be honest, if you're still watching, if you're still here, I'm not sure my plans for this channel moving forward. I am going to be switching directions in the most epic way in my offerings and what I'm here to do at this time. And I'm not sure if I will have the capacity to continue with this channel. So over the break, I will take a break and I'm going to muse on that and what it looks like. And if I continue, then there'll be more opportunities. And if I don't, I'm going to archive everything that I've ever done and offer it in a way that it can still be of service. So yeah, I'm musing over that over the break, how much energy I can continue to give in this way. And I just want to acknowledge each and every one of you for showing up and having courage and being on the healing journey, because really that's all I can ask of anybody that I choose to be in relationship with, is that they're doing the work and that they're willing to be courageous and take responsibility and acknowledge their part in any dynamic, or the accountability, taking accountability for your actions, taking responsibility for your choices, and how you choose to navigate the world and how you choose to relate to other people. So I pray that you feel joy and love in your hearts, that you feel enriched and whole. Pray that your families are connected and that you have loving kindness coming your way. Bless, my loves. Thank you for being here. So much love. Yeah, so much love. Right, my loves. Merry Christmas.